Okay, good evening everybody and welcome to another Team 3R race series, the Tour of Sicily Stage 5. Tonight we're on one of the rolling courses. So I think about 38 kilometers and only 266 meters of climbing. So there's only a couple of steep but short climbs, which should sort out the group, but I'm a little bit disappointed with the turnout. I would have thought going into the series, we're now into stage 5, I would have thought we'd have had a few more riders taking part, but not to worry, I'm sure we'll have a good race. It'll be interesting to see what tactics are played out tonight because like I say, this is a course for what we call the rollers, the strong men, and I think it's likely to see a breakaway going all the way to the finish. I don't think we're going to stay together tonight, but I could be proven wrong if everybody decides to chase down those trying to break away. It should be quite an exciting race. Now obviously I have to climb on the bike. I'm not racing, but I have to climb on the bike and turn the pedals so that I stay in the race, and I'll ensure that I'm setting an alarm for the halfway point. In fact, while I'm on it, please forgive me, I'll say hello to everybody and I'll do that now. When the racing starts, I shall remove myself from the screen, so you won't see me in the bottom corner. Okay, so we want to do an alarm. Let's just make sure that we what time we got? 21:55 should do it, shouldn't it? Yeah, we've set 21:55. I think we're going to be about right. So there we go. Already programmed. So we got 9 riders online, a minute and a half to the start. Let's see if any more turn up. Be nice to have a couple more, but I'm sure those that we've got will make it an exciting race. I've been pretty busy lately. I haven't done much cycling. I'm down with a cold again from my youngest daughter, and I don't really feel too well, so perhaps it's better that I have taken a bit of a break. I'm struggling with my breathing, to be honest. I always do when I get a bit of a cold. Anyway, we're into the race, so I'm going to, like I say, I'm going to turn off the camera and we'll get the race start underway. There we go, and transition across with that. Oh, and jump on the bike. Good luck, everybody. Let's have a good race. Oops. Yeah, let's have a good race. Here we go. There we go. Through the start banner, and let's pick it up. That's enough for me. Okay. So, we should have everybody together. Oh, Paul's not started yet. What's happening there? Just tipping, he says. He's on his way. He's on his way. Good. I'd hate to see him not... well, let's hope he can catch them. Let's have a look. How far behind is he? Oh, he's a good way behind. Phew, so he's going to have to work like a Trojan here. This is probably going to affect the race. I don't know whether he had a problem there or not, but this is definitely going to affect the race because he's going to struggle to get back on. Even you can see his numbers are red here, and the rest of the group are together. So I think Paul is going to really struggle here to get back on. Oh no, he's pulling them back. But is he going to burn too many matches? Okay, let's go back, find out what's happening at the start. Now, if these lads have any sense, they won't slow down for him. That would be the nice thing to do. But and it looks like good old Tim Cook is slowing down for him. But the rest of them aren't. The rest of them aren't waiting. There, look, you can see. There's Mr. Wilson in the middle, and there's Tim. Just you can see he's rolling along. He's waiting for Paul. Now this is pretty good sportsmanship, folks, because Tim's leading the competition, but Paul is likely to turn out to be his main competitor, because Paul is the better climber, and so this is pretty special to see Tim waiting for Paul to catch up, and then I'm sure they'll join the rest of the race, and I think they will get back on, two of them working together, and it looks like Martin Wilson has also dropped off. There's Paul. Now Tim will jump on his wheel, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. So Tim's putting in the red effort now, as you can see, and they're going to work together here. So Paul will get on his wheel and they'll work together. The problem they've got is they're not quite sure of each other's wattage at the moment, so that's why you're seeing one going to the front and a gap. This is not really the best effort. They'd be better off just drafting each other. But they are going to pull it back. I'm pretty certain of that. So let's find out what's happening just further up the road. I mean, this is pretty. Yeah, they're working well now. They're starting to work together now. Took them a few turns, I think, just to get into a rhythm. Fantastic sportsmanship. Okay. I mean, I really enjoy it when I see that on the road. It's but you can see Mr. Unsworth is having none of it. He wants to make sure that they don't catch, but they are going to do. They're only 60 meters behind now. So now then, you can see at about the third distance, the first of the climbs, that red bit that you can see, orange bit, that's pretty steep, and I think Tim and Paul are going to be back, certainly, by the time we get there. In fact, they're going to be back very, very soon, much sooner. So I think this group will pull in Unsworth. I don't see him staying away. One lone man at this point. There they go, the back, look. And they'll help pull back Unsworth as well. So the group will now speed up and pull him back. And I don't really see anybody making a breakaway until that first climb, if it's going to happen. I mean, Unsworth's looking strong, but he's not really putting out the big watts needed to make a break. And you can see the riders behind are going red, just pulling him back. Evan Oystenson that we're watching here, the 3R rider, I mean, he's not going to let this go so early either. So he's my teammate. Well done, Evan. But I think now we're going to see the riders just consolidating and staying together. I mean, we've got 8 in this group. I'm the 9th rider, and of course I'm not taking part. So these 8 are going to stay together, I think, until we get to that first climb. There's a couple of risers, as you can see. It's a bit lumpy. In fact, they're on one now, but it's nothing significant enough to split the group. But I genuinely think that first climb will do so. I think that's going to sort out at least 50% of this group. So this is just the more, if you look at the wattage now, you can see that yes, the front man's pushing it along, but they're not really pushing the wattage too high at this stage. And that will work. That's not very good tactics from the group, to be honest. What they should have done was kept the wattage high, because Paul and Tim have just come back to them and they would have been pretty knackered. You know, well, and when I say knackered, they would have been a little bit tired because they burnt some matches getting back. And the sensible thing to do would be to keep them working and not let them recover. Whereas now, you know, Tim and Paul are going to be well recovered come the next attempt at a breakaway. And it might even be one of those two that makes the breakaway. I know that Tim is, this is his kind of course. Well, I think Paul and Tim are the two strong men in this pack. But Wareham is somebody not to be sneezed at as well. So, in fact, there's some, I mean, Unsworth is, we'll see. It's too early to call tactics at this point, and I do think they will stay together. I don't see any of these riders, unless somebody loses concentration, I don't see any of them being dropped over this kind of terrain. There's a small rise that you can see on the map. Let me just see if I can point it out with the mouse. You can see the mouse pointing just there, this orange bit. Now, that could cause, if there's anybody not feeling as strong as the rest of the group, that could be a dropping point, but I don't think so. I think these 8 are all strong enough to stay together until we get to this next climb, this big bit here. It's not long, but it's long enough and steep enough to sort these fellas out. Some good wattage being put out, so the wattage is going to be high for tonight. Although we will see recovery in this middle section, and there is an opportunity for riders that are dropped on the climb. You can see there's a decent downhill there, then there's another downhill before it starts to slowly rise again. There is an opportunity for riders to come back that are dropped on the climb because it is such a short climb. So it could well end up coming back together until this final section here. But somehow I'm thinking that somebody will get away here. 1 or 2 at least. And you can already see who's making most of the pulling up at the front. I think this kind of terrain suits Evan. He couldn't match Paul last week because I think Paul is the lighter rider, and it was a bloody awful climb. When I say awful, it was a beautiful climb, but awful in terms of the steepness and the gradients that the poor riders had to put up with, especially at the end. I mean, the final ramp was over 11%, and they did that in the last few hundred meters. So Paul got the better of Evan in that battle, but I'm not so sure in this kind of terrain whether Evan hasn't got the better of Paul, because he's a slightly heavier rider and therefore he's going to be more punchy on the shorter climbs and certainly on the downhills. So we'll see. Paul's a canny rider, so I don't think he's going to let Evan go. And you can see the 3 people that I think In With a Shout for this race are already, pulling them along at the front. But I don't think you can ever discount Kevin Unsworth. And I think is it Mike Wareham or Martin? I have got the names written down somewhere, but I haven't got them with me tonight. So Evans putting out really good wattage here. Is because he is a strong man. He's testing the rest of them who are letting him do the work on the front. But this is going to be a bit of a sort out, because what he's doing here is putting out strong wattage and pulling the group along. But he's seeing who the stronger riders are in the group. I mean, those that are coming to help him out at the front, those that will stay with him. And this is going to contribute towards the sort out when we get to the climb. It's good tactics. He doesn't need it. Well, you can see he's not doing so. He's when the pace drops, he's going to the front and raising it again, as are Steve Noble at the moment. But that's what he's doing. When the pace drops, he's just going back to the front, and the rest of the time he's riding sensibly. He's just staying in the pack, recovering, and then doing his turn on the front. So smart riding. And again, you can see him raising the pace there, although Mr. Wareham has come round him. And it is too early yet, but they're just approaching this little rise now. So let's see what happens here, because I think this might the riders at the back, although it's Tim and Paul at the back at the moment, and neither of those two are going to get into difficulty. There you can see Tim has gone right from the back and pulled up a little bit. So he just moves through the group effortlessly, does Tim, because he's got that strength in reserve. So normally I'd worry about somebody hanging off the back. But I'm not worried about Tim hanging off the back. He's strong enough to stay in touch. Now Evans having another dig here, and I expected this to happen on the risers. I really did, and you can see Paul's joined him, and they've got a small gap, but they're not pushing for the break at the moment. That was just to see who's going to come with me, and I think that was a tester for what's going to happen on this longer climb coming up. And I feel sure that it will be Evan that goes again, possibly Tim as well. We'll see. It all depends how they're feeling, because I think Tim's already proved his worth on this kind of course. I think he's quite possibly the strongest rider in this group, and I said that the other day when we had the flat course. I think this kind of course suits him even better than the flat. So because he's a big lad, and he finished. Did he finish? Yeah, he finished 4th last week, which was a very good result for him, given that he is a bigger guy. He was able to stay. He was fighting for 3rd place and just got beaten, but he was able to stay with the front end for quite some time, which was pretty impressive. But I think we're looking at the contenders now at the front. I really do. I mean, Tim's at the back, but that's not a worry to me. It really isn't at this point. And just to prove my point, you saw how easily and effortlessly he's moving up on the outside, and he's not even drafting, and he's carefully watching what's going on at the front. Now Paul's going to have a dig here because we're approaching the base of the climb. So this is a classic climber's move. Get to the front, get to the climb first, and see if you can get a gap before the climb even starts in earnest. And he's doing that. So Paul's trying to get, well, I'm saying trying, you can see already he's got a 15, 16, it's going out. Now, who's going to chase him? Because I'll be honest, if they let Paul go at this point, the race is over. If Paul gets a 50, 60 metre gap at the top of this climb, it's all over. Of that, I'm convinced. I just don't think they'll catch him. So they have to keep it under 60 metres. That's my prediction. Unless he eases up, and the smart thing to do would be to not ease up. So can they keep it under 60 metres? I don't know. I think he's gone. I really do. He hasn't even hit the steeper part of the climb yet. I think he's gone. I think that's good night and thank you. That's a race winner. I could be proved wrong. I mean, how much energy did he use up having to, because you saw what happened at the start, he ended up not being able to start with the main bunch and had to work with Tim to get back. So how much energy did he use there? Now Evan's making a fight of it. He's really trying, but I do think the rest of the group were going to pull Evan back. At least a couple of the riders are. Tim certainly will. He's not going to let him go at this point. Although, as I said, Evan and Paul are without a doubt the best of the climbers in this group. They proved that last week. But I think Paul's gone now. I think the race is over. I mean, the only disadvantage for Paul is the fact that he's a lighter rider, and so he won't have the advantage on the downhill. But if he gets to the top like he has done with this kind of a gap, he can pull that gap out to 300 metres before his main chasers get near him. So you watch that gap now. Once Paul crests the top of the climb, watch the gap grow to about 300, 400 metres. Tim has realised that and he's off. He's setting off after him. Because I'll be honest, Tim is the only one of this group who I think could possibly catch Paul on the downhills. So if anybody else wants to stay with Tim, that's what they're not going to do. They're not going to stay with Tim. So the two leaderboard contenders, in my opinion, at this point, main contenders, are the two guys off the front now. Now Paul, I think he's going to pull out a gap, but Tim Cook is the heavier rider and could well pull him back because of that. But if you look, it's not coming down significant. It is coming down, but what's it going to be by the time they get to the flat part, which they're coming to next? I'll tell you what, Tim's doing a really, really good job here. You can see he's obviously working above his FTP because he's at 3 point. You saw his numbers going red there. So he's working really hard, as is Evan, to try and get back. Steve Noble obviously is doing the really sensible thing because Evan's stronger than Steve. So he's doing the sensible thing by getting on the wheel. Now then, no. Yeah, Tim's caught him. Let's go to them. Yeah, Tim's caught him. Now that surprised me. I really thought Paul would put the hammer down, but having said that, he did put the hammer down, but Tim's just so strong. And I think on the downhills and on the flat, Tim is always going to have the better of Paul. So his next opportunity comes right at the end, and I don't think that climb is long enough or steep enough for Paul to be able to pull away from Tim. I just don't. So now the question is, can the rest of the group, in particular can Evan, get back to these two? He's making a good fist of it and putting in some good wattage here to try. But the rest of them, I'm not sure. But I've already called it once and been wrong. I mean, I just didn't expect Tim to catch Paul. I thought he was gone. And I thought the race was over. But well done to Tim for doing so. He's probably listening to me. He's probably listening to this broadcast and thinking, nope, you were wrong, Derek. And well done, Evan. That's a really good ride. That is top notch. Very good. Tim Cook, he could pay me back at the end. Oh. Yeah, three's a good number, guys, to stay away. But you've got Kevin Unsworth is putting in a big dig here. He's going to catch you, actually. So it's going to be 4 very, very soon, because he's putting in big numbers. He's coming back to you guys if he's not there already. In fact, let's just lay you up. So Kevin's got you. So that's 4. Now the question is, can you 4 stay away? I said the climb would split the group maybe 50%. I'm exactly right, guys and girls. So I was wrong about Paul winning the event with that first breakaway, but I'm right. I was right about the climb splitting the group in 2, which it's done. And it's done more than that. The climb has done more than that. The weaker rider, and I say weaker, it's not derogatory, folks, but if we just page down, which I'll do now, you can see that 2 riders are chasing together, but then you've got I think it's Steve Crichton is out on his own in the middle, and then you've got Martin Wilson, pretty sure it's Martin Wilson right at the back. So the climb has done what I said it would do, which is it's sorted out the stronger riders at the front. So it's had a really good effect in... What time is it? I better get back on the bike. The alarm's going to go off in a minute. Whoa! Almost fell off my chair. Right, let's just turn the pedals. Yeah, there's the alarm. Okay, so that will keep me in the event. Let's get back to the action. Page up. So these two, they're 120 metres behind the front group, which is these 4. And Kevin Unsworth is showing that on rolling terrain like this, he is very strong. Where he lost contact was when the climb got a little bit steeper, as did Tim. Now the problem for Paul, he's without a doubt the strongest climber, but there's no big climbs anymore. There's the long one at the end, but it's not really steep, and I think the strong boys are going to be able to stay with him, or at least stay close to him. So this is going to be exciting. I think the opportunity to make the break was on that first climb, which Paul did, but unfortunately he couldn't make it stick when Tim pulled him back. And then it's a difficult one to call. And Kevin's doing exactly the right thing here, because he knows he's not going to be able to hold the other riders on the steeper terrain. So he's trying to make it work for him now. And all he can do is just keep pushing and pushing at the front and hope somebody's elastic snaps. But I can't see that happening. Tim's too strong. I think he can just play with them here. And little climb coming up, so we'll see what happens here. But I just don't think these rises are going to be enough to, you can see the sign for the climb, are going to be enough to see a major gap happen. I mean, I honestly thought when Tim got that, when Paul Pudell got that big gap, I thought he was away, and I was really surprised that he was pulled back. But if you look at the profile and look at the downhill sections just after the climb, it lends itself perfectly to the heavier rider. And that's exactly what happened. And to be fair on Tim, he's riding smart, look. Instead, I mean, Tim is a stronger rider than Kevin, but he's got enough sense to sort of like, you know, save his energy here by sucking his wheel. And I use that term, it's not derogatory, folks, it's smart. He's sitting on Kevin's wheel and letting him do the work. You know, what he's doing is he's saying, okay, you guys want to, want to push on the front, I'm prepared to let you. I'm just going to sit on your wheels. And that is the really smart thing to do. Especially because he was the one that pulled Paul Pudell back and has probably burnt a couple of matches doing that. So, you know, he wants to save himself. He doesn't want to work harder than he needs to until he has to. And we're at the halfway point. Here comes the yellow banner. So it's looking really good at this point. 4 riders away. And I think these 4 are going to stay together until... I can see them staying together until that last... I'll show you with the mouse. They're currently... Where are we? Let's see if we can get the mouse on board. Where are we? There we go. Okay, so you can see where they are now, where the white paddle is. That's the front rider. But this section here, folks, where you can see me pointing with the arrow, this rise, I think that's going to be another sort out. I can't see the 4 of these riders staying together. At least one of them will be shed here. I'm pretty certain. But having said that, they're all looking strong. I mean, Kevin Nunsworth is looking really strong. So Tim Cook said 3 is the magic number, but it's looking like 4 is the magic number. So Evan needs to... Come on, Evan, you can't let them go. You need to get on the wheel. You let a small gap open and you have to put out big watts to close it. And it looks like Evan is struggling here. Yeah, the gap's growing. He needs to close this down quickly now because the gap is growing. We'll come back to the guys for a bit further down the field, but I just want to watch Evan here and see. You can see, yeah, he's losing. Look, they're riding away from him. He's gone. He's not going to catch them now. So we'll catch up with what's happening behind him. There's Steve Noble. Now, he's not going to catch the front group either, or I don't think he's going to pull Evan back. Although, if you look, he's working above his FTP, so he's certainly putting in a big effort, as is Mr. Wareham. So Steve's working really hard here. Full credit to the lad. But I don't know. I don't see him pulling back. Having said that, I think he got the better of Steve last week, didn't he? It was a battle between not Steve, Tim Cook. It was a battle between him and Tim Cook for third, and I think he got the better then. So I'm not going to call it just yet. You can see Mike Wareham has got Steve Noble in his sights. Can he keep him there? I mean, he's on the downhill now, so I don't know who's the heavier of the two, who's the heavier rider. But yeah, he could possibly close this gap up. Mr. Crichton isn't going to pull back that gap, though. You can see it's going out, so that's going to very quickly get to over the 1 kilometre mark, and he's not going to pull that kind of a distance back. And then Mr. Wilson, every chance of joining. And if they join up and work together, then there's no reason why they can't make inroads. But I don't. Having said that, if we go back, look, you can see he's holding the gap. So maybe if Wilson joins him, maybe the two of them can make inroads. I don't know. Let's get back to the front, see what's happening. So Kevin is they're still allowing him to do the work off the front. I have to say, Kevin, I think your tactics are all wrong here, sir. I don't think you should be doing so much work on the front. I really don't. And look, Paul got pulled alongside and then Kevin just put his hammer down again. I'm not convinced this is the right tactic. I think they're going to do you over. Let you do the work and then do you over. I mean, that's what I'd do. I'd sit on your wheel, let you do the work. I mean, I'm not strong enough. I'm not in this class. But if I was a rider like Tim and Paul, that's exactly what I'd do, what they are doing. Let him use up his energy, pulling the group along, sit on his wheel. I mean, look at the difference in wattages. Not now, but a moment ago. You can see the energy being saved by, I mean, Paul Pudell, 0.7, 1.0, Kevin now drafting. And that's the way to do it. That's the way to do it. Save your energy. I mean, take turns by all means. That's what they should be doing. Maybe Kevin's realised that now and is allowing them to come around him. I certainly wouldn't be pulling on the front. There's Tim again. Yeah, and you could see there that Kevin is actually slowing down. So Tim has said, okay, you're not going fast enough, I'm coming around you. And that's through and off. But what will happen here is Paul will pull up to his wheel, Kevin will draft. There you go. So this is through and off, and this is what they should be doing. They should be working together, taking turns, not one man off the front doing all the work. On this type of terrain, Tim Cook is the strongest. We've seen that in the 4 races before this one, on this kind of terrain. So why not let him do the work on the front? But I think Tim is just too smart. you know, he's going to get to the front, and if he thinks the other guys are just leaving him out front, he's going to ease up. And so somebody's going to come round him because he's not going fast enough. So you can see Tim will go to the front and then he will just ease up. Because there's absolutely no sense in doing all the work off the front, even if you are the strongest rider. Yeah, he's giving us a wave, so he's probably listening to me, as is Paul. Okay, let's have a look and see what's happened to Evan. Has Evan? Yeah, Evan's still well off the pace. And to be fair, I don't think Evan is going to get back. Oh, and Paul's been dropped. But I think he'll get back. I don't see them. I don't see them dropping him. Look at the wattage he's putting out. So he's going to get back to those two at the front, even though they've pulled out a 50-metre gap. He's going to get back. This is not going to stick. Although it was careless of him, because this is burning matches, and don't forget, he's the lightest or lighter of the riders, and it's a downhill finish, or it's downhill and then flat. He needs to be on people's wheels when they hit that downhill, otherwise he's going to end up in the same place he is now, off the back, and not able to close the gap. I still think, even though it's going out, I still think he's going to pull this back because of the risers that are coming up. But this is unnecessary work. He should have been watching and keeping an eye. Let's just check on what's happening up front. So these two are working really well together. I'm very impressed with Kevin, I have to say, Kevin Unsworth. This is a superb ride by him. I still think he's doing too much work, but because Tim's more than happy to let him do it. I mean, look at the difference, 3.3 and 1.8. Difference in wattage there. Not all the time, but enough, you know, Tim's saving enough energy. Again, 3.1, 1.8, 3.2, 1.8. It's saving energy here, which is going to be crucial later on. And you can see that when Tim puts in a bit of an effort to come around, Kevin actually increases. And I don't understand that. I just don't understand his thinking here. Why not just let Tim come around him and take a turn? I've been racing for more years than I care to remember, folks, and I've been commentating on races more years than I care to remember. Races I've organised and races I've helped with. And this is just not a smart tactic. Unless he genuinely thinks he can ride away from Tim, and I just don't see that happening. I really don't. So what's happening with Paul? Let's find out. There's Evan. This is one of the biggest surprises to me. It really is. And the only thing I can put this down to is did he use up too many of his matches earlier on, having to pull back the gaps, and when he made his break, was that too much of an effort? I mean, it was a smart move for a climber. That was the place to go where he went. But has it ended up costing him? Because he's looking at third place here now, if he can hold on to this gap from Evan behind him. And there's Evan, and I think he will. I think he can hold a 300-meter gap from Evan. So you've got Steve. He's 140 meters behind Evan, but I don't see him closing that gap. Could do, certainly strong enough, but I think Evan will push it out when he sees him closing in. Although, having said that, he's making a good fist of it here, is Steve. This is a good effort, a really good effort. Working above FTP. But Mike is in no man's land, and he won't fault me for saying that. This is the worst position to be in, to be, you know, almost 500 meters behind the man in front and a kilometer in front of the man behind. So you're not going to wait for the man behind, and you're not going to catch the man in front if he's working hard, which Steve is. So he's basically riding on his own, and that makes sense because he doesn't want to slow for the guys behind, definitely not. But however hard he works, I don't feel he could close the gap on Steve Noble in front of him. So he's just got to keep it going where he is. I've been there so many times in no man's land. And again, the same with, although having said that, Wilson and Crichton could come together and work together. And they probably were together a little bit earlier, and we've missed it because we've been concentrating on what's happening up front. But they perhaps were together, these two, and Wilson has decided to go on ahead because he's doing more wattage than Crichton is. Okay, let's work his way back up. So there's Steve, and you can see he's got Evan in his sights. I mean, this is a superb effort, and could well be, you know, he could well be looking at a fourth place spot here, could Steve, if he can catch Evan. So Evan needs to put in a big effort to stay away, but I think Steve's going to catch him here. This is a really good, solid effort. Superb stuff. So you need to push a little bit harder, Evan. I know it's easier said than done, lad. There's Paul. Now then, we've got Paul's kind of terrain coming up very shortly. We're going to be into it. What's the gap going to be? Can he peg it? I think he can make up 800 meters. I really do. But can he stay with them then after the climb, or is he going to be too spent? Because he's pegging this, he's holding it roughly. Although having said, I say that and then it starts to go out again. Because they are on a slight downhill, that's why. Okay, let's have a look and see what's happening with the front boys. There they are. And you can see that Kevin is still on the front. I could be proved wrong, but I just don't think this is the right tactic. I really don't. This is looking like another first place for Tim to me. And I'm sorry to call it so early, folks, but that's how I see it. He's riding smart. He's not prepared to come through and push silly wattage off the front. He's just happy to, you know, to sit in the wheel. And there may be some of you out there. I mean, I was called out by Chris Little for doing exactly this tactic, but I wasn't strong enough to come round Chris. Tim is, but he's doing it because he's smart. And you can call him a wheel sucker, you can call him, you know, he should be taking a turn off the front. But this is really, in a race situation, that is really clever riding. See, he's going to the front, but he's not pushing the wattage up significantly. So what's going to happen? Kevin is going to say, nope, you're not going fast enough, mate. I'm coming back round. And Tim's more than happy enough to let him do that. Now, what could happen is that, you know, if Tim came to the front and Kevin said, okay, I'm going to sit on your wheel, I'm not going to do any work, Tim could slow up to the point where they allow the riders behind to come back. So that could be another reason why Kevin is saying, nope, I'm having none of this. We're going to keep the pace high. Because he realises that if Paul Pudell gets within range with this climb coming up, then he's going to pull them back. Whereas if they keep a high pace like they're doing here, then there's a very good chance Paul isn't going to come back. Yeah, Steve, you see, Steve Noble is now caught Evan, and they're saying that they can catch Paul, and I think they can. So let's see what's happening there. There's Paul Pudell, and there's Evan and Steve behind him. Now, I think they can catch Paul if they work together. Oh, he's waiting for them. So they're going to make an effort to try and join together and pull back Tim and the... But that's... No, I can't agree with your tactics here, Paul. I think you should be pushing on for third place, mate, not allowing these two to come back to you. Whoa, this is a very dodgy tactic. You're too close to the finish, mate. You are too close to the finish to do this. You're a very clever rider, but I think this is a big mistake. And I think you're going to pay for this. I think both these two riders can beat you on that downhill section easily. So I think you're sacrificing third place here. Okay, let's go back to the front and see what's happening with these two. I hope you like the way that I'm commentating, folks. I mean, I call it as I see it. I've got many, many years experience, and I call it as I see it. And I'm not far off the mark most of the time. Yes, I get it terribly wrong. Like I called Paul as the winner very, very early after he'd gone up the first climb. Didn't expect Tim to pull him back, but he did. But now, well, I've already chosen my winner. Tim Cook's going to win this. But the question is, where are the rest going to finish? I really think Paul Pudell has done a serious misjudgment here by allowing these two to catch him. And you can see they are catching him now. He's eased up, he's allowed them to come back to him. There's Paul. But this is the battle, and this is where, you know, okay, Tim's the heavier rider, so Kevin Unsworth's only chance here is to get up this final climb before Tim, to really, really push, get up that final climb and get to the top. And if he can get to the top, he's got a chance. If he gets to the top with a slight gap, it'll need to be 50 metres or more. But if he can get to the top with 50 metres or more, is a chance. But I just can't see Tim letting him. I really can't. This climb isn't long enough. Tim's a big guy, but I just don't think the climb's long enough. I think he can ride it out of the saddle, pushing a big gear. That's the way I'd approach it anyway. Out of the saddle, push a big gear, push big watts. Yeah, look, he's effortlessly, you know, getting back on the wheel. I'm so impressed with his riding style, and he's got a very good race brain. Which is why he's leading the leaderboard. I mean, I think the chance for the other riders are when we come to the hilly stages. They've got to make the most of it. They've got to work together and get rid of him early on, not wait until, I mean, he finished 4th last week. If they'd really done him over in the early part of the race, maybe they could have got him even further down the field. I don't know. Anyway, we'll come back to them. We're just going to take a quick look. So you can see that these three have come together now. But look how far behind they are. They're 1.25 kilometres behind. They're not going to pull that back as a threesome. And I think these two are going to take Paul. I really do. I mean, he may well be tired. He may well have just... I don't know. Let's see if he proves me. I hope he does prove me wrong, because I want to see the leaderboard. You know, I want to see a fight. Evan's up there in the leaderboard. So is Steve. So all these top 4 riders, top 5 riders, sorry, are all fighting for points at the top of the leaderboard. I mean, yes, there's some big gaps, but they're not out of it because there's some big stages to come. I mean, Tim Cook is not... Look, he's doing what I said. He's riding out of the saddle in the big ring. I guarantee you he's in the big ring. He's out of the saddle in the big ring, pushing it. And he's got a gap. And if he gets over this hill with a significant gap, it's all over, because he's a heavier rider. He's going to go downhill like a bullet. Yeah, I think 50 metres is enough. I don't think he'll get caught now. I think he can push. I mean, he may well wait, because I still think he could beat Kevin. He's pulling it out. No, I think this is the winning move. Although he needs to put his foot down. You can see he's not really working, whereas Kevin behind him he is starting to now. So can he pull this gap out? 3 kilometres to go, and he's got a 50 metre gap, but Kevin's pegging him. Okay, let's just quickly. There you can see Kevin is actually pulling him back. So maybe it's not all over. Having said that, Tim's coasting. And why? Is he so confident that he can take Kevin in the sprint or on the flat section? I think that's his first mistake. I think he should have been pushing 3 watts down this bloody downhill. And then Kevin wouldn't have caught him. He's allowed Kevin to catch him through coasting and through just taking it easy on the downhill. Look, he's coasting again. Nah, nonsense, Tim. You've worked so hard, and now potentially you could give it away. I wouldn't have even given Kevin the chance. And you needn't have done so. Perhaps you want to make it a bit of more of a race, but I mean, you are leading by a decent margin. Okay, I'm just going to switch and see what's happening here. See, Paul has gone to the front on the climb. Now his hope will be that he can sort of like stay with the other guys. There's a slight kick at the end, folks. I say it's a downhill finish. It is mostly downhill, but then there's a very slight kick at the end. But I don't think it's enough, because it's a big ring sort of like finish. You know, big ring, smallest gear at the back. And the heavier riders are going to go much, much faster on that kind of terrain than Paul is. So, but he's got a decent gap. Could make it work. Okay, this is what we're going to watch now. We're going to stay with these two and watch how this plays out. My money's still on Tim, but I think that... Oh, shit! Oh, no! Okay, I'm out, folks. Oh, I've missed the end. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up the website. I'm so sorry. I just wish RGT would bloody sort out not having to get on the bike. I get so tied up with the, let's get the studio up. RGTDB. Here we go. Come on. Here we go. So let's find out. Oh, that is so annoying. Okay, where are we? Events. Team 3R stage 5. There we go. Now this will be live. So this result should come in live here. Oh, that is so frustrating, folks, and I do apologise. Can't believe I've done that. I set the alarm for the half-hour mark and didn't set it for the hour mark, and it's kicked me out. Oh, so annoying to miss the end. Just inexperience on my part. I really, but you know, I say this every week, we really ought to have a commentator mode where we don't have to jump on the bloody bike. I wonder actually if it's going to come in here or whether it will actually show in the results. No, it won't show in the results yet, so we'll go back to the previous page. And it's going to show here. Yeah, there we go. Tim got it. And was it close? By a second. So Tim got it from Kevin. Which at least I called the result. Let's see now. We're going to stay with it, folks. We're going to, because I can't obviously go back into the event, we're going to stay and we're going to keep refreshing this and see who else comes in. Now the interesting thing is, where is Paul Pudell going to finish? Are the other two going to do him over on the fast finish? If he manages to come in the top 3, if he manages to finish 3rd, then he'll have justified waiting for the other two. But I don't think he should have done. I think he should have pressed on and secured his 3rd place, because he needs it. He needs it for the competition. I mean, I think Paul should win the stage 8, which is the big climb up the volcano, Mount Etna. I mean, that's just a pure climber stage. It's horrendous. Very steep gradients, and it goes on forever. So I'm pipping the climbers to pull back points on people like Tim on that stage. But before we get to stage 8, we've got a pretty hilly stage coming up, which is going to favour the climbers as well. So everything can change. Tim's well out front now in the leaderboard, but everything can change, because okay, got 3rd. Now, how did he manage that? Well, you can see how he managed. Look at his watts. So he must have put in a magnificent effort at the end, and I'm just so sorry I've missed it, folks. I really am sorry. I wonder if Paul is live streaming or somebody else is live streaming this. I will ask in the comments later, and if anybody else is live streaming it, what I will do is I will tag on the finish to my coverage. Okay, so Evan got fourth. In the end, you know, he won by 10 seconds, so he either pulled away on the climb or maybe the kick at the end. I mean, you can see that both Evan and Steve Noble finished with exactly the same time. Um, I mean, that's amazing. That's amazing. But I'm just so upset that we've missed the end, folks, and I can only apologise. Just to explain to folks that are not familiar with what's happened, when you're running a race like this, as a race organizer, you have to be a competitor. You don't have to do the full race, but you do have to jump on the bike before the 30-minute mark, and it has to be every 30 minutes. So if, as this race did, it runs over the hour, then you need to be jumping on every 25, 28 minutes. And I jumped on at the halfway point, but forgot to jump on for the latter part, right at the end, and you can see the time now. So it's kicked me out, and in a group ride you can rejoin. In a race you can't rejoin. You're out, and that's the end of it. Goodbye and thank you. Very upsetting. And believe me, folks, I am really upset because it just makes a mockery of the video. It's just, yeah, it's just so hard. Okay, let's see. Have we got any more? Anybody? Yeah, there we go. We've got, so Mike came in 6th place. Now, I think, was it Crichton that was, is it Steve Crichton that was behind Mike? Well, I'm going to stay with it anyway, folks. We're going to watch. There's only 8 riders to come in, so there's 2 more to come in, and I'm going to stay with it until everybody's come in, and then we'll close down the broadcast. But again, I apologise to everybody that's watching and expecting to see a nice tight finish, which it was in the end. I mean, a second separating the two leaders. And I really would like to have seen how Paul managed to pull out 3rd place after waiting for the other 2 behind him. That must have been some ride from him. Okay, so you can see now the results board. Now, I mean, let's see if we can pull it up for you. I'm having trouble even with that. There we go. No, it's still not showing. Why is it not showing? I don't understand this at all. Come on. Is that showing? Why am I struggling to show this? Not having a good night tonight, folks. Really not having a good night. Okay. Okay, so Martin Wilson finished 7th, and then so Mr. Crichton was 8th. Okay, I'm going to end the broadcast there, folks. I've made a total bollocks of it tonight, of which I'm terribly sorry and I apologise. So thanks for watching. I feel a bit guilty asking you to like and subscribe, but please do so, help grow the channel. I don't always make these mistakes and miss the end. Tonight's just been one of those nights. Okay, thanks for watching, folks. Catch you in the next one. Stay safe and bye for now.